Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're at. I am Billy Burley with Courthouse USA. I'd like to welcome you all to the More Cost Online webinar. We are very much appreciative of your time today. So therefore, we're going to do the best we can to offer you as much value as we can during the short time we're together. As customary with these webinars, all attendees are muted and in a listen-only mode, and we do that just to cut down on the background noise. However, we absolutely encourage you to ask any questions about anything you see or hear today. And at the end of the webinar, we'll go through those each one by one and answer all of them. You can enter your questions in the chat box on your screen. As far as the agenda for today, we can do introductions. We'll do a quick intro to More Cost Online. We'll walk through some live demos, and then we'll look at a brewery, actually, as another example. So to introduce our presenters today, our primary presenter will be Marlene Jeffers. She's the founder of Courthouse USA. Marlene is also joined by Wayne Moore of More Precision Cost, and Arlene Watkins and John from Heritage Computing, and they're the ones that helped develop the More Cost Online system. So with that, Marlene, I'll let you take the mic.
Thank you. We always like to begin any discussion of More Cost Online by pointing out the 5 ways the More Precision approach is different from what you might be using today. First and foremost, rather than starting with occupancy type, we start with the building structure cost and then add the finished cost for one or more uses. In other words, we calculate cost just like a builder would. This approach provides the perfect solution for multi-use structures. Next, we consider the role of the appraiser. Your experience can't be automated. We give you complete control over 3 types of depreciation for the structure and each and every use within, so that you can fine-tune the estimate based on your judgment and expertise. Class matters. More provides 9 structure types instead of 5, 3 to replace Class C in the most commonly used approach. It takes 9 to be precise. Quality matters. More defines quality in not only materials, but workmanship as well. And finally, More Cost Online saves you time and money, producing detailed cost estimates, which can serve as an attachment to your full appraisal report, and at a cost of only $25 per building, not per section. Now we're going to talk about registering, of course. You're going to register and log in and create an account. Your work, your building list, your reports will be stored for 10 days. So you can go in, edit, print, recalculate, print again. And I want to point out the quick start guide. Before you start, it would be a good idea to just flip through that and read over it. It's very quick, but you're going to see as we start the demo now at the first building how to add the data. Arlene?
All right. On the Add Building page, you will enter the information about your building. The building name and address will appear on your reports. The zip code will determine the location modifier used to calculate the RCN. The land market value will be used on the cost approach value estimate report. After all the information has been entered, click the Save button. You'll be taken to the Building Information Review page, where you can optionally upload a building image. To the right, you will see the building navigation. Any new sections or levels you add will be displayed here. Click on the Add Section button. Here you enter the information about your section. Assign a section name of your choice for easy identification. The year constructed and effective year constructed are optional fields. More Cost Online has expanded the Classic 6 commercial structure types to 8. Choosing the correct structure type is extremely important in calculating the precise cost. Click on the Help Me Decide button for a list comparing the MCO structure types to the FEMA, IBC, and widely used class codes. On the section data entry screen, select the structure type and review the description which appears below. You'll notice that next to each structure type, we have added the widely used class codes in parentheses. The condition is related to how the structure has been maintained. The quality is an indicator of the quality of the construction when the building was built. The average quality applies to approximately 60% of buildings. They are fully code compliant and constructed with builder-grade materials and workmanship. This field will directly affect the RCN. When you click the Save button, you will be taken to the Section Information Review page that shows what was entered and optionally allows the user to upload a sketch of the section. The next step will be to add a level. Click the Add Level button. You would assign a level name. If this is the first level in the section, the level type will be defaulted to ground. If you add additional levels, you will select other level types. Enter the square feet, perimeter, and average wall height for this level, and choose the exterior wall material from the drop-down. When you have entered all of the information, click the Save button to review the level information. Here you can see the information you've entered about the level, as well as access the wall segment list if needed. Below the wall segment list button, note that the uses total is 0 square feet and displayed in red. This indicates that no uses or occupancies have been assigned to this level. A level can have many uses, but the total square footage of the uses must equal the total square footage of the level. Click the Add Uses button. Here you will assign the interior uses or occupancies to the level. To start, click the Main Category drop-down. Review and choose the use for this level. After choosing the main category, the subcategory drop-down will display the uses associated with the selected main category. Enter the square feet for this use. Pardon me. The condition is related to how well the use finish has been maintained since it was built. The quality is an indicator of the quality of the finished materials and craftsmanship when the interior finish was built. This is where electrical wiring, partitions, flooring, HVAC, plumbing, and other amenities are taken into account, as well as the general quality of the finished materials and craftsmanship. When you have entered the information for this use, click the Save button. You will be taken to the use list for this level. Here you can add more uses if needed. You'll notice that the square footage for this use is displayed, but the total uses is still in red. This indicates that the total square footage for the use area does not fill the level. We will add another use to this level to fill in the area. Note that now the number is green, indicating that the uses total is complete. The next step is to add extra features. Extra features are things like elevators, escalators, fire suppression systems, or paving that are associated with the building. You start by selecting the type from the first drop-down and description from the second drop-down. Fill in the information required and click the Save button. You will be taken to the Extra Features list. In this example, we have another extra feature to add. If you have finished entering the information for the building, you're ready to add it to the cart. To add the building to your cart, simply click the Add to Cart button below the navigation. From here, click the blue Proceed to Checkout, and then you'll be taken to our checkout page. This is where you would enter a promotional code. Otherwise, you will be taken to a form for credit card payment. When checkout is complete, your order number will be displayed, and you will receive an email confirmation. Click the Building Details button to continue. After you have paid for the building, you may calculate the RCN or enter depreciation. Click the Calculate RCN button to view the Replacement Cost New Report. The RCN report displays each section, level, and use with the cost to the right. At the bottom, you will find the total replacement cost new. From this screen, you can create a PDF of this document. Now let's enter some depreciation. This is determined by the appraiser's judgment. On the depreciation entry page, each section is listed with the uses that are assigned to each of its levels. You may enter physical, functional, or economic depreciation for each section shell structure and use. In this example, extra features can also be depreciated independently. You have the option of choosing how the depreciation is applied, as well as the rounding that you would like to apply to the final cost approach estimate. There is an area at the bottom of for appraiser's notes, where observations can be recorded, such as the justification and rationale for depreciation used. These notes will be included in the cost approach value estimate report. Click the Save and Calculate button. This is the cost approach estimate value report. Like the replacement cost new report, each section, level, and use are displayed. As you scroll down, you can see the improvements cost calculations summary, which summarizes each of the floors in each section. This is followed by the cost approach estimate value, which includes the appraiser's land value estimate, which was entered on the first building page. The estimated total value is in bold text. The appraiser's opinion of value can be fine-tuned by returning to the depreciation page, making adjustments, and recalculating to revise the cost approach estimated value as needed. Now you can print your cost approach PDF. And that is the conclusion of this demo. Thank you.
This next building is it takes a little bit more data entry, and so I decided rather than key that in, we're just going to step through the pages. This is a brewing, a light manufacturing structure, and as you can see, we enter the building data just as before. This is all one story. It was built one section. It was built at the same time, so there's merely one section. So we'll go there and add that one section. In this case, it was constructed in 2014, and you can see that the entire building is that one section. Now we're going to add a level. By the way, the structure types, I want to refer to that again. This is a very good reference for whatever you've been using now, so that you can match that to the more cost online category for structure type. So again, we had only one level here. It was 15,600 square feet, and the perimeter was 556 feet, linear feet. Now, there were several wall segments. This particular building had all of these, 6 wall segments, different heights, and so we were able to calculate those separately. Now we're going to look at the uses. This building has an office, and it, of course, has industrial, where the brewing vats are located, has a warehouse where everything's stored, and it had a retail area, like a wine tasting shop, in this case, a beer tasting shop, where they could also sell beer. So each one of those has a different cost associated with the finish. So we were able to put those, to finish them, to cost those out separately. So we had a general office, we had light manufacturing, light warehouse, and of course the winery. and the square foot for each. And of course, that had to total 15,600 square feet. Now, this building had several special features. Some of them are in the special feature table. Others were manually entered. But as you can see, we assigned the square foot for however many are there, and we added the manual ones for the ones that weren't listed. I'd like to look at the building details. Looking at the building details, before we go to calculate the replacement cost. Check that out, make sure it's right. The system has kept track of the square foot and the linear feet, and our building is ready. We're ready to calculate. So now we're going to calculate the replacement cost new. And here it is. And now we're going to go back and add depreciation, which we've done. And now we're going to look at the replacement cost new plus depreciation. Wayne, at this point, would you like to add something about using depreciation as a factor for a local adjustment?
Yes. When you're at this point, you can go back to the depreciation page. Can you flip back there, Marlene?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's it. What this allows you to do is separate the original building structure, which is the top line there, and based on your judgment as an appraiser and your inspection of the property, you can decide what the estimated amount of physical depreciation is and whether or not there's any functional problems that would decrease the value of the building, and that's what functional depreciation would be. And then the third thing is the economic, which is again your judgment of the economic impact on this building. But the key is you can decide these things yourself. And that's just for the exterior structure. Then when you start looking at the interior uses, like the general office, the light manufacturing, let's just say this were an older building and for some reason at one point they refurbished the retail area, because that's very common. They don't want retail areas to become kind of shabby. So they'll be frequently refurbished with every 5 or 7 years. So the actual depreciation of that area may be close to zero or smaller than the original structure of the building and other areas. And then when you go down to the extra features, things like parking, asphalt, concrete, various other areas will depreciate at different rates, and you can determine that. And again, this is where your judgment as an appraiser, this is what you're contributing. What we're doing is just telling you, here's what, according to the construction industry, would cost to build this building nationally. Then as Marlene mentioned, and Arlene mentioned, the cost schedules have an approximate location adjustment, but you are there on site in the location, so you have a much better feel for what the economic trends are in that area. So you can do some adjustment just through using the economic, a general one, and you could put yourself a note in that says, okay, this is an area where the inflation is not as much, or whatever justification you have. The economy is not hot, and so it's really a little below what the national average is. Well, you can do that adjustment within the depreciation. So the whole idea is this screen gives you complete flexibility over your results. So you make adjustments here, you go back, you look at your report, your estimated cost approach value report. You decide if you're satisfied with it. If not, you come back and do a little more adjustment. And when you're finally satisfied, you print it, and that printed report can be added to your appraisal. This report, right, can be added as a nice exhibit to your appraisal report, so that in your appraisal report itself, your report, you can discuss the cost approach, and you can say the cost approach value is this, and just make some general comments about it, and then see Exhibit A for the details. And this is, when it's printed, it's a very nice layout. It gives all the details, and I think gives credibility to your report. So that's about it. So.
Okay, let's take a look at, here's the report that Wayne's referring to and that you would be attaching. You'll notice here that what we're talking about is that anytime you're using something different, it takes some effort to understand the data and how the system works. But I've brought this up as an example of how easy it is to go back and forth and produce your reports, make some changes, and then see how it calculates. In this case, we've got the same building and with average quality, and that same building good. And you'll notice that there's pretty close to $3 million difference in the two, and when you compare the two. So given that the system is flexible and easy enough to go back and forth and make some changes, update, revise, I wanted to show this as an example of how easy it would be for you to produce those reports. Do you have some questions?
Okay, thank you, Marlene. Great job. So for the audience, if anybody has any questions, we'll give everybody a moment to type their questions in about anything related to More Cost Online, about the cost approach. You heard Wayne speaking. Wayne is one of the industry's top experts on cost approach. I would definitely encourage you to take advantage of that. So we'll give you a moment and just type your questions into the question box. We'll be back in a moment. And we have, you should have my email address. If you have any questions after the fact, here's the email addresses. You may want to jot these down. Mine's the top one, and then we've got Marlene, Wayne, and Arlene. Any of those, you can reach out to us, any or all, and ask questions after the fact as well. And we'd also love to hear your comments, what you think about the system, how it compares to what you're using today, if you're using anything today. Looks like the first question is, we always get questions about cost. The question is, what is the cost for each report? Each report is $25, and that is $25 per building. It's important because it's not per section. Other companies charge per section. We charge $25 per building, regardless of the number of sections included.
Right, and you can report that, you can print that report as many times as you need to within a certain, was it 10 days, Arlene, or something like that? So it isn't just each report that you print, it's for the building, and you can make as many adjustments over that allowed time period and reprint as much as you need to.
Yes, that's a great point. Thank you, Wayne. Do we offer bulk pricing? We do, and if anybody is interested in that, again, I would encourage you to you can send me an email about that one, and we will follow up with everybody on that. So you just send an email saying you're interested in bulk pricing. As a, if you plan on doing a lot more than a few reports, sometimes purchasing bulk in 100, 200 blocks makes more sense for you. Okay, here's another question. Where are you getting your manual prices in your examples?
And that's a good question. And what's the source of these costs? Well, we use a construction industry publisher, which is Craftsman Book Company. Their whole purpose is to publish books that are used by contractors and builders to do their estimates. And we believe that is a very good source because those contractors and builders are kind of depending on those estimates. When they do a quote on a building or a proposed building, they've got to be pretty close. So that's what we use as our source. And our models are, a cost approach model is built independent of that, but then we fill in the individual costs, such as what does 1 square foot of concrete block wall cost to construct, and just all the other things, floors, everything. So essentially the original source, we don't try to collect all that information. There's a company that does that, it's Craftsman Company, and we have a license and royalty agreement with them to be able to legally use their published costs. It's a long-term agreement. And then we incorporate those into our cost estimating models. And that's where the values that you see on the screen come from. They're not just pulled out of the air or what we think would be a good value. They're based on factual, collected building cost data by a company that specializes in doing that.
Great. Thanks, Wayne. Okay, we have another question here, and there's a clarifying comment after the question. So I'm going to read the clarifying comment first. So this is in reference to physical depreciation. This next question, and it's going to be obviously for Wayne. On physical depreciation, what we have overall has been straight line, modified straight line for effective age, and from Marshall Valuation Services, there are tables they developed. Any guidance from more?
We try.
I can read that again if you need me to.
Was there, no, you said that's a comment, but is there a question though?
It's a question asking for guidance. They're saying on physical depreciation, what we have overall has been the straight line, modified straight line for effective age, and from MVS, there are tables they developed.
Right. There are, as the question, as the person has mentioned, there are various methods. Essentially what it boils down to, and I've done some research quite a bit with large numbers of sales and comparing sale to construction costs. And there's actually a trend, and you'll see this in the Marshall and Swift depreciation tables. About 30 years, if a property is not maintained, it starts really deteriorating. And over that time, it essentially it's not straight line, is what I'm trying to say. 100 years. It's a curve, and the reason we've allowed or given you the total control over depreciation, because there's a lot of subjective judgment in that, and that's also why as a building gets older, it's more difficult to use the cost approach. And if the income or the market approach, comparable sales, whatever is available, of course, that's going to be what you'll use. But the general approach is you should consider all approaches to value, and then, but the difficulty in the cost approach, of course, is the depreciation, and that is a subjective judgment, and it's based on your experience, and that's why we say we leave that up to you. But there are a number of sources, and there are actually entire articles and books written on the subject of just how do you do depreciation, because it's not easy, and it is subjective. And what we've tried to do is open that up so that you can consider all the types of depreciation in your decision. And this question was primarily about physical, but I'm not a big proponent of trying to set it up in a specific table, because that it just has its problems. That's where your experience and judgment as an appraiser comes in. It comes in to the final decision, and also when you're justifying it to your client, that should be discussed. And So I don't know if that's what you were looking for, but there you are.
All right, thanks, Wayne. Next question is from Bruce. Bruce, let me know if that answered your question or not, or if you have a question to clarify that one, or any other questions for that matter. I'll keep going through the questions as they come in. Next question is, where is the deferred maintenance built into your program?
Okay. I'm assuming they want me. That's related to depreciation, but it's not. What we're doing is computing the replacement cost new. The deferred maintenance is built into your experience and judgment and decisions when you inspect the building. That's part of depreciation. That's why we leave it to you, because you just can't put that stuff in a table. It's unique to each building, and that's where automated methods, I do not believe, will replace appraisers. You need that judgment and experience. So we can do the automated part, tell you what it would cost to build that building new, and give you the tools to be able to adjust it for what you find when you do your inspection and based on your experience. But that's where the deferred maintenance comes into the picture. It's part of depreciation.
Okay, and Arlene, if you'll go back a couple slides to that depreciation page, just it may help to have that up while we're talking through it.
Okay.
Questions are coming in about it.
There you go.
There we go.
Right. So those are things that only you on site inspecting the building can decide. You can use guidelines, of course, what's generally the case, and you can do economic remaining life and all sorts of different approaches to it, and you could have that in your report write-up. But it boils down to that's the very important part that you bring to the picture, you bring to the calculation as the appraiser.
Perfect. Thank you, Wayne. Give you another minute here. If anybody has any more questions, those are all the questions that have come in so far. If you all have any other questions, please feel free to type those in. Wait just another minute or so. And if no one has any, then we will wrap up, and you can always ask us questions after the fact. These have been great questions coming in. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to ask these questions. These are great. Okay, here's another one. That answered what it was. Okay, so this is just a comment on your answer to the physical depreciation straight line, what have you. So that answered what Moore's thoughts are on the depreciation subject. Makes sense. And for many years of appraising, I understand how subjective the process is of physical depreciation. Okay, good. Buddy answered it the way you were looking for. Okay. While we're waiting another minute here, if you'll go ahead and pull up the emails again, please, Arlene. Okay. If we have no further questions then, as I said, we greatly appreciate your time today. We also really appreciate this conversation at the end. These are actually the most fun parts of the webinars, is where we interact with you all and answer your questions. Again, if you have any other questions, think of something after the fact, or you want to send us a comment, feel free to email any of us. Also, feel free to go out to morecostonline.com. That's the site. That's morecostonline.com. Your first report is free. So we encourage you to go out there, give this a try for yourself, and let us know what you think. So with that, I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the week. Thank you very much.